I made my way across the desert, the sand biting at my body. I made my way to the great city of Aktenan, and I must say it was quite a sight. I heard a few things about it, but to see the city before, yes, this was a city made of actual gold. It was breathtaking. When I came to the gate, the Keelnotchie guards glared at me suspiciously and curiously, as I looked at them in the same way. The Keelnotchie were an interesting people that seemed to be an amalgam of different creatures. They had the leg of ostriches, the body and wings of a vulture, and the head and neck of a cobra. But the mouth ended in a beak, 2 points instead of 1. Fascinating. I was curious how I would get them to allow me into the city. Once I told the guards about my project, it was surprisingly easy to get into the city. They gave me quite the tour. It was beautiful. But I couldn't really pay that much attention because I had a mission. I was surprised to see that I was being led to the palace. The palace was as beautiful as the city. I was so surprised to be invited, considering how isolated I had the Keelnotchie were. I was introduced to the Sultan of the Mask. Apparently, Aktenan was ruled by an oligarchy, and each sultan was in charge of a different principle of the city. The Sultan of the Mask was in charge of the arts. He didn't have as much power as the other sultans, but he still had an important position. According to the Sultan, at least. The Sultan and I talked. He let me know he did not have a tale for me, but his wife did. He told me that his wife was the greatest storyteller he'd ever met. In fact, that's why he married her. As I sat with his wife, Skerat, she told me a great tale.
It was centuries ago. During one night, Amunet, the Sultana of the Mosque, was in disguise as she moved through the streets of Aktenan. She was risking a lot, but she had to see him. Amunet made her way into a back alley and waited and waited and waited until she got frustrated and started to leave when
It's my love.
Amunet turned to see Merhesuah, her secret lover. She gave him angriest glare.
How dare you make me wait?
Merhesuah smiled.
Don't you love the anticipation?
Not that much anticipation.
Merhesuah took Amunet's hands in his
My deepest apologies, dear one.
and stared deeply into her eyes.
How can I make it up to you?
Amunet smiled.
You know what I want.
The two embraced and shared a kiss. Amunet sneaked away towards the palace after her tryst with Merhesuah, making certain no one saw her. Merhesuah wasn't your average Keelnotchie, because he wasn't a Keelnotchie at all. He was a creature that loved sowing chaos, and what better way to do it than with an official's wife? However, he was bold of his tryst with the fair Amunet, so he decided to leave Aktenan. And our story. A year passed from that moment. Amunet gave birth. Amunet looked down at her new child with her husband, Darwish, who looked down with pride.
What a beautiful boy to continue my line.
Amunet looked away nervously. Years passed, and the Sultan's son, Jinni, had grown into his 10th year of life. Jinni went to the finest school in Aktenan. Well, finest to everyone else. Jinni didn't think it was so fine. It was lunchtime, and Jinni was seated by himself as usual. Meanwhile, 2 human slaves, Hanbal and Nakia, were sweeping a hall. Hannibal gave Nakia a glare.
No.
Nakia gave Hannibal a perplexed look.
I didn't say anything.
Hannibal sneered.
You don't have to. You complain about the same thing every day.
Aren't you sick of it?
I'm sick of you complaining about it.
Don't you have dreams of more?
I'm a slave. There is no point.
Nakia sneered at Hannibal.
I'm glad I have your positive company to keep me going.
As Jinni was eating his lunch, he heard a voice
Hey, Froukh.
that filled him with dread. Making their way towards Jinni was Omar and his cronies, ready to start trouble. Nakia looked up from his sweeping
Huh?
when he heard the kids picking on the wet one. Anbal saw his friend getting distracted.
Don't.
Nakia gave Hanbal a pleading look.
But
Hanbal glared at Nakia.
Just don't.
Nakia sneered at Hanbal. Omar and his cronies surrounded Jinni.
Who told you could sit here?
Jinni did his best not to meet Omar's gaze. He had been beaten up for less.
I have nowhere else to sit.
Omar glared angry at Jinni. Nakia looked back at the little boy who was being bullied with concern. Hanbal stared at his friend.
Don't do it.
Nakia looked to his friend, pleading. Hanbal kept his stare.
Don't do it.
Nakia shook his head, threw down his broom, and stomped over to the kids.
hey, stop it!
Hanbal rolled his eyes and shook his head.
Idiot.
Omar and his cronies closed in on Jinni.
We'll teach you a lesson. For what? I didn't do anything.
Leave him alone!
Omar and his cronies turned their attention to an angry-looking human slave.
Let him be!
What do you think you're doing, slave?
Realization came to Nakia. In his righteous anger, he forgot his place. His bravery diminished as he knew these kids would talk to their parents. Parents who could end his job and his life. Jinni was relieved when Omar turned his attention to the slave. But his relief dissipated when he realized what could happen to his savior. Omar and his cronies went to pick on the human slave.
Do you know who my father is?
Nakia shrugged as he backed away from the Keelnotchie children.
I don't think I do, but I don't think he would approve of you picking on other children.
You clearly don't know who my father is.
Jinni watched the scene in fear. He knew what Omar was capable of, being his main victim. He closed his eyes and spoke to whatever would listen to him.
Please, someone. Anyone. Please help.
Nakia raised his hands in a meager defense.
Now, kids, let's not do something rash.
Omar and his cronies got closer.
You should have thought this through, slave.
Suddenly, a wind started to pick up
Huh?
Huh?
and got stronger. And stronger. until it became a gale that scooped up Omar and his cronies, but seemingly didn't touch Nakia. The wind carted Omar and his cronies out of the room. Nakia shrugged.
That was convenient. Whatever that was.
Jinni ran up to Nakia.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nakia gave the small, weird Keelnotchie child a curious look.
You're welcome.
How did you do that? Are you a wizard?
No, I'm.
An idea came to Nakia. He smiled at the Keelnotchie child as he leaned towards him.
I'm a genie.
That's amazing. You're a...
Nakia clapped a hand over Jinni's mouth and put a finger to his own lips. Later that day, Darwish was in his study looking over several plays.
This is the 40th play about thieves.
There was a knock at the door. Darwish looked up from his desk toward the door in annoyance.
I said I didn't want to be disturbed.
Oh, sorry, Father.
Darwish glared at the door.
Jinni, what are you doing home?
School is over, Father.
Darwish scratched his head.
Really?
Darwish looked around and shook his head in disbelief.
I've been in here too long.
Darwish turned his attention back to the door.
What do you want?
I brought someone home.
What did I tell you about bringing animals home?
Darwish opened the door
What did you...
to find himself facing a human slave.
What did...
Nakia waved to the noble Keelnotchie.
Hello?
Darwish stared at Nakia, perplexed.
Hello?
Darwish looked to his son.
What is this?
This is Nakia, my new friend, Father.
Is a Nakia a type of human? That's just my name, sir.
Darwish glared at Nakia.
I was not speaking to you.
Nakia nodded and averted his eyes from the noble Keelnotchie. Darwish turned his attention back to his son.
He chased some bullies off with...
Jinni caught Nakia giving him the quiet down gesture. Darwish looked at Nakia, who acted as if he were looking at something else. Darwish glared at him before returning his attention to his son. Jinni was nervous, but figured out what to say.
Scary faces.
Darwish gave his son a suspicious look.
Scary face.
Jinni nodded with a forced smile on his face. Darwish looked at Nakia again, who also nodded with a forced smile. Darwish shrugged.
I can see it.
Nakia was taken aback, but Darwish did not notice or care.
Remember, Jinni, humans are a big responsibility. You have to feed them. You have to clean their leavings.
Nakia shook his head.
That won't be necessary.
Darwish glared at Nakia. Nakia pretended to zip his mouth closed and averted his eyes. Darwish turned his attention back to his son.
Now leave me be. I have a lot of work to do.
Jinni bowed to his father.
Thank you, Father.
Nakia bowed as well.
Yes? Thank you.
Darwish sneered
Whatever.
before slamming the door. Jinni smiled at Nakia.
That went well.
Meanwhile, Omar had gone home to talk to his father, who was a high-ranking officer of the Sultan of the Soul. Omar's father, Abbasi, was dealing with some shady characters when Omar ran into the room.
Father!
Abbasi glared at his son.
Son, can't you see I'm busy?
Why did the slaves hurt me?
Abbasi was shocked.
What? They let a slave touch my son at that school? Kids will roll.
Never touched me, Father.
Abbasi shook his head in confusion.
What?
Night came over the city. Jinni climbed into his bed with Nakia watching him.
So, Where am I sleeping?
Oh, they made you a bed over there.
Jinni pointed to a corner of the room with a couple of blankets and pillows on the floor. Nakia forced a smile.
Oh, great. Looks comfy.
Jinni smiled, oblivious to Nakia's discomfort.
Will you wait till I go to sleep?
Nakia smiled and nodded.
Of course.
Jinni gave Nakia the big puppy dog eyes.
Will you protect me forever?
Nakia nodded and smiled again.
Of course.
Jinni was fast asleep. Nakia watched the little Keelnotchie boy sleep with a smile on his face.
They are so cute when they are sleeping.
Nakia got
Time to leave.
Nakia slowly closed the door behind him. Wincing until it was closed, Nakia breathed a sigh of relief when no one seemed to hear his escape. Meanwhile, Abasi was in a dark room with a group of shady men. You see, Abasi was a sultan as well, but a sultan that ruled Aktenan's underworld. He was the sultan of the Crooked Dagger.
My son brought something interesting to my attention. Apparently, a slave possesses magical powers. He is acquired by the Sultan of the Masked Sun.
One of the shady men raised their hands.
What do you wish us to do?
Abisi smiled evilly.
I want you to acquire him for us.
Nakia made his way down a long hallway. Nakia walked down another hallway. Nakia walked down yet another hallway.
Huh?
3 of Abisi's goons sneaked through the city through the night. Nakia walked down yet another hallway. Nakia walked down yet another hallway.
How big is this place?
Abisi's grooms climbed the palace of the Sultan of the Mosque. Nakia walked around the corner to find himself facing a Keelnotchie woman. Amunet smiled at the human slave.
Hello? Are you lost?
Jinni awoke from a bad dream he couldn't remember.
Ah!
Jinni looked around the room in surprise.
Huh?
He looked towards Nakia's bed to find he wasn't there. The Abisi goons sneaked through the halls, avoiding the guards. Nakia's back was to a wall as Amunet moved closer with a demure smile on her face.
Do you need help finding your way back to your quarters?
Nakia shook his head furiously.
I think I'm all right.
Amunet's seductive smile broadened.
I could help you.
Nakia smiled a forced smile.
It's okay. I'll find my...
Amunet's smile faded into a stern look.
I insist.
Nakia took a lot from Amunet's serious look. He knew he shouldn't refuse.
Oh. Sounds good.
Jinni walked through the halls trying to find his pet.
Nakia!
Abasi's goons saw Jinni wandering through the halls. They watched him intently. Amunet had Nakia pinned against a wall.
I'm not sure about this, Your Majesty.
Amunet kissed Nakia's neck.
Don't you find me beautiful?
Of course,
He didn't.
but the Sultan may find out.
Amunet rolled her eyes.
The Sultan misses much.
Nakia gave the Sultana a sympathetic look.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Jinni continued to roam the halls, searching for his human.
Nakia?
Abbasi's goons proceeded to follow the young noble.
I still love him, but he paid more attention to his worker than me.
Nakia patted Amunet on the back.
It's all right. It's all right.
Jinni turned the corner to see Nakia holding his mother.
Nakia? Mother?
Nakia and Amunet looked at Jinni in surprise. Nakia gently pushed Amunet away.
It's not what it looks like.
Jinni gave Nakia a puzzled look.
What does it look like?
Oh, right. You're a child.
Amunet glared at Nakia. Nakia knew he would suffer on account of that look.
Oh,
Suddenly, a hooded figure held a dagger to Jinni's throat.
No one move.
Nakia didn't know how long he stood there watching the knife at Jinni's throat. His brain raced to find something to do, but nothing came to him. Jinni was so scared as he felt the dagger blade close to his throat. He looked to Nakia, who seemed powerless. Then Jinni remembered Nakia's gifts.
I wish this pendant was gone.
Not going to be that easy, little one.
The goon found himself becoming transparent
Huh?
before disappearing entirely. The Abbasi goon appeared above an ocean before falling in. Nakia and Amunet looked at Jinni in shock, while Jinni smiled at Nakia.
Thanks.
Amunet turned a confused gaze to Nakia.
Thanks.
Nakia shrugged.
you're welcome.
The other two Abbasi goons saw what transpired in horror. Amunet, Nakia, and Jinni turned their attention to the remaining goons. Seeing that they were caught,
Oh no! Run!
both goons tried to run. Jinni snared.
I want them gone too.
Both goons disappeared. One goon appeared in a jungle.
Huh?
The goon looked around frantically.
Where am I?
The goon turned around when he heard a roar.
Huh?
The goon found himself facing a tiger.
Oh no.
The last goon appeared in the desert, a few feet in the air. Jinni nodded in satisfaction.
Good work, Nakia.
Amunet looked at Nakia. Nakia spotted the noble woman looking at him and quickly got into the position of just casting a spell. He smiled.
No problem at all.
Amunet eyed Nakia suspicious.
Yes, thank you, Nakia.
Nakia forced a smile toward Amunet. At this point, he knew that she knew he had no real gift. Amunet felt a little hand tug on her dress. She looked down to see Jinni looking up at her.
Mother, please don't tell Father about Nakia's abilities.
Amunet shot a glare at Nakia, who was still forcing a smile. She looked back down to her son and smiled.
Your father doesn't need to know.
Jinni smiled.
Thank you. I don't think he would understand.
I know he wouldn't understand.
Jinni looked to Nakia.
Let's go to bed, Nakia. I remade yours.
Nakia sneered.
Thanks.
Get to be Jinni. I need to talk to Nakia.
Jinni shrugged.
Good night.
Amunet smiled at her son. Jinni walked away. Amunet turned her attention to Nakia.
Nothing happened tonight.
Nakia shrugged.
Whatever are you talking about?
Amunet smirked.
That's a good human.
Nakia gave Amunet a smile as he went to join Jinni.
By the way,
Nakia stopped and turned to look at Amunet. The noble woman smiled.
careful wandering by yourself. Not all the guards know you, and it can be treacherous outside of the palace.
Amunet's smile faded to a very serious look.
I would hate to see anything happen to you. My son values you so.
Oh. Message researched, madam.
A thin smile came across Amunet's beak.
Good night.
Nakia made his way down the hall looking somber. Amunet thought back to her secret lover years ago. In the middle of the desert, the Avasi goon picked himself up off the ground and dusted himself off, looked towards the horizon,
The master should know about this.
and began walking.
It was a fascinating story, and it felt as if there was more. But I had to be fair. One story per culture.